time for another Elsie's Little Pickles, the pickle pod for the people. Preparing pickle pod. Sad news.
Whoa. Sorry.
That's
Had to do it.
That's all right.
Had to get it out.
I feel like lately we've been in the news, unfortunately. We've had to do a lot of sad news. And the one that I'm bringing to it right now, because we haven't discussed this one, and it's somebody that's near and dear to me, is Maggie Smith. Most people know Maggie as McGonagall from the Harry Potter series, but she's also done just endless projects in her life. Downton Abbey.
Played Wendy Darling in Hook.
Yeah. And there was also the Budapest Hotel or whatever, the Greatest Budapest Hotel?
Something like that.
Yeah, I forget that one. It was great. I just can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. So for me, the big loss is Maggie Smith, unfortunately. Rest in peace.
Yes.
Sweet, sweet Maggie.
And of course, John Amos, who was the father on Good Times.
Yeah, a lot of people forget.
He was in Die Hard 2. He played a bit of a badass in Die Hard 2.
He was always a badass, though.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He used to play football.
Yeah, he's a badass.
But he will always be Mr. McDowell to me.
See, to me, he's always from good. He's always the dad from Good Times for me.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, I agree.
That's where I first saw him. But his most endearing role to me was Mr. McDowell.
Yeah, that was a pretty endearing. And it was interesting to see how he played off of Eddie Murphy. Yes. Which I think he did brilliantly. I mean, Eddie's a fucking force of nature. And for somebody to be able to play off of him and play the serious role, play the straight man, that's pretty impressive. So,
also interesting to note is that the set for McDowell's, the McDonald's ripoff in the movie, is they had rented a fast food place that was changing. I think they were redesigning it, like updating a Wendy's. Technically, I think that was the story of it. But they had put up the sign out front for filming, and McDonald's reps came in, thinking that it was a real restaurant, and we're starting to raise some hell.
Oh, no kidding.
John Amos launched into the describing the difference, his lines, how, McDonald's has the golden arches. We have the golden arcs. That whole thing. McDonald's has the Big Mac. We have the Big Mick. And the reps started cracking up once they realized it wasn't real.
Yeah.
And in fact, sent them an operating thing for a manual for McDonald's, and they used it as a prop in the film where he is caught reading their secrets and quickly closes the book. Yeah. That was actually a gift from McDonald's. Fucking classic.
You know that those fucking reps, they were all lawyered up and just ready to bring the fucking thunder, and they're like, oh, it's a movie. Okay, it's just silliness.
He's got his own money. And when I say he's got his own money, he's got
his own fucking money. It's such a great movie. Such a great movie.
It is. It's a great movie. And then introduced the world to Samuel L. Jackson.
This is true. Because that was one of his earlier movies, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's his first.
Really?
Like actual movie. Yeah.
Wow.
He plays the robber.
Get your motherfucking cash into my motherfucking bag now. Oh, man. All right. R.I.P., my friend. R.I.P. And
isn't it a little weird? Doesn't it seem in the last 2 weeks a lot of celebrities have died?
Yeah. Or
like more so than usual.
Or gotten in really
Pete
bad
Rose
shape.
Died.
Oh, Pete Rose died?
Which is weird because I swear he died 10 years ago.
I thought so too. I thought Pete Rose
seem to remember Kane from WWE giving a little farewell speech for Pete Rose years ago where he talked about choke slamming Pete Rose. Not once, but twice.
And isn't it weird?
And
because
the second time was because Pete Rose was like, you got to do it again. You got to do it again. Yeah. And he was like, he took it the best out of any celebrity.
What I wonder Did he ever make it into the Hall of Fame?
The Baseball Hall of Fame? No.
Yeah.
The
no.
WWE Hall of Fame? Yes.
Well, at least he got one. At least he got one. Yeah, I thought Pete Rose was
it just
dead.
seems like more celebrities in the last 2 weeks have died.
It's been a
John
lot.
Ashton from Beverly Hills Cop, he died.
The older guy?
Yeah.
Taggart?
Yep.
Well, at least he got to do the fourth. At least he got to do 4.
Yes, this is true. This is very true.
Do you know what he died of? Or was it just
I don't know, to be honest. Not a clue. But I'm trying to remember who else off the top of my head. Let me GTS that.
Yeah, it does seem like there's been a lot of deaths lately, which makes you wonder if it's just that time of year.
Oh, Chris Christopherson.
I did hear about that one.
Yep.
How old was he? Does it say?
Chris Christopherson was, I do believe, if I remember right, 88.
Well, that's a pretty full life. And he was a
Peter
bit of
Jackson passed away.
Peter Jackson?
No, Tito Jackson.
Oh, Tito. Well, there's a big difference between Peter and Tito.
No, Tito Jackson.
How old was Tito?
70.
Tito, give me a tissue. You remember that from Eddie Murphy?
Yes.
Tito, give me a tissue. I got to be honest with you. As far as Tito goes, that doesn't change my day at all. I'm more affected by Maggie Smith.
Yeah.
Who was the celebrity that hit you the hardest when they died?
I got it of all time or recently?
All time. And you can go recently, but for me, it was Anthony Bourdain. Like, that really fucked me up.
I did not care.
You still don't care. None of these, none of these fucking deaths bother you.
Cooking for me.
And everyone calls you the teddy bear. Hey, you don't fuck. Yeah, they're dead. Whatever. Like literally.
What's his name from Top Gear? Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah.
His typical bad news answer, which is, "Oh no." Anyway.
Oh no. Anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, in general, that's my response. Oh no. And anyway.
Honestly, the two right off the top of my head of all time is really a toss-up between Joey Ramone from the Ramones and, of course, God himself, Lemmy.
Okay. Both of those make sense. For me, it was Bourdain. It was Bourdain because I was like, oh, are you... There's no reason for this. He's got it fucking made. But apparently he didn't have it as made as we all thought. Apparently there were a lot of problems behind the scenes. But, I mean, talk about one of the only fucking people on the planet I would want to change or switch lives with. I mean, traveling all over the world, eating amazing food, creating amazing content based on where you are. That's kind of a dream job. You know what I mean? And he had some beautiful women in his life too. So it's not like it's not like he was hurting that way. But apparently there were some behind the scene things in his relationship that drove him over the edge. You know, and that, I think that proves you just never know. You never know what's going on with somebody, no matter how successful or happy you think they are or they should be. You truly don't know what's going on behind their eyes, you know? Anyways, other news. Away from death.
Wait, death, get away from me.
What do we say to death? Not today.
I'm pretty sure that the Grim Reaper has forgotten about me, or it's just plain afraid.
I'm guessing doesn't give a fuck.
Anyway, we got some news. Another Russian fighter jet crossed over into the North American aerospace area towards Alaska again.
Oh, and how was that received?
It apparently occurred September 23rd. This has been a weekly thing.
Where they just keep
why I say
testing it? They just keep testing the boundaries?
Yes, it's happened. I think they said 17 times since July.
Well, it's their way of saying to the United States, you're supplying them with money and munitions in Ukraine, so we're going to fuck with you. And we're going to kind of try to do that in your back door, and that back door is Alaska, and we want Alaska. I mean, that's...
Well, and, my thought is, yes, they probably do want Alaska back.
Oh, yeah.
And if for people who are like, oh, Ukraine's no big deal, what do you think is going to be next?
See, that's the thing, is people don't seem to understand, or at least they're not thinking about it in this way. Mm-hmm. If Russia succeeds with Ukraine, you don't think they're going to come after Poland or try to backdoor the United States and go after Alaska?
Well, the issue that's going to happen with Alaska is that one of the largest military bases in the United States is in Alaska. A lot of people probably don't know that, but it's a Army and Air Force base. I don't remember the name of it offhand, but it's one of the largest in the United States.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But
they also, not only is it a United States military base, but they also they share, what do they call it, training exercises with the Canadian military there.
So in other words...
So there are Canadians there.
Fuck around and find out, Russia is basically what that boils down to. Good luck,
and
bitch.
Coupled with that news, first off, Saudi Arabia has now decided to fuck with Russia. I don't know if you heard this.
I didn't.
But
I've been so focused on political news in the United States that my bandwidth even what's going on with Israel and Gaza and Lebanon and Iran, it seems like that's turning into a colossal fucking mess and is going to get worse, So I haven't even had really the opportunity to try to understand the dynamics of what's going on there. So when it comes to this other stuff, Saudi Arabia, forget it, totally off the radar on it. So hit me.
Well, what are the three largest oil producers in the world?
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, yes. Russia and the United States.
Yep.
And Saudi Arabia has decided to double their production.
To
how much oil they produce per day.
To drive down prices so that Russia doesn't have the same amount. Because Saudi Arabia has the largest reserves, don't they? And then it's Russia, then the United States.
I do believe so. Russia does not have as much oil as the United States, and twice that is Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is going to, like I said, ramp up production, daily production, which will drive down the price of gasoline, even in the United States, which is good news for us. Bad news for Russia, because they basically produce it for their military and for exporting, because they really need money.
Oh, yeah.
But Western sanctions on Russia, they're looking to cripple Russia.
It would be interesting if Saudi Arabia was really the linchpin in all of this. You know what I mean? Just based on the resources and how they manipulate the price of resources. Like that would actually be and I'm sure that this happened during other wars, that there were other countries that were kind of like peripheral as far as like the war effort went, but were definitive leaders when it came to how they imposed sanctions or how they manipulated the economy. That would seem like that would actually be obvious, that you would have some of these, smaller countries. Because Saudi Arabia, yeah, they're powerful, but they're small in comparison, specifically to Russia. Yes. I don't even know if it came down to it when it comes down to like, the military. Where does Saudi, do you even know like where they fall? Because I know like United States is number one when it comes to military. I think China's number two, maybe fighting with Russia for the number 2 spot. And then you get into like your North Koreas and so on and so forth. But really, when you're going down the list, out of the top, I think 10 or 11 U.S. militaries, or the top 10 or 11 militaries in the world, 9 out of them are allies with us. So like France, England, I think to a lesser degree, India. These are all like allies to a degree, if not complete allies. And really, there's like only 1 or 2 that are not allies in the top 10, which is kind of amazing when you think about it, based on the idea of how much we spend in order to be the top military, and all we're doing is outspending our allies. Doesn't that catch you a little off guard, you know?
Well, I will say that they're on a numbering, 1 through 145 military strength. They are at 23.
Saudi Arabia is 23.
Yes.
And guess what? They bought all their weapons probably from us. That would be my guess.
They're off the top of my head. I know that they are not a part of NATO. The 4 biggest areas or countries that are not in NATO are Saudi Arabia, Austria, Ireland, and Switzerland.
Ireland's not part of NATO? Really?
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute, though. Hold on.
They're considered neutral. However, Switzerland has been talking about joining NATO.
Finland just
apparently
joined.
Saudi Arabia has been talking about joining NATO, but they are considered an ally of the U.S.
But back up. Yeah, well, no, I knew that Saudi Arabia was considered an ally, at least currently. But I guess my question is, wouldn't Ireland fall under the United Kingdom, which is a part of NATO?
The UK is part of NATO. However, there are basically Dublin, that area is a part of the, what do they call it? The Republic. That is a part of the UK, but there's a section that is not.
Well, isn't it? Yeah, isn't that Northern Ireland? I thought that was Northern Ireland, not Dublin.
It could be. I could have it backwards. I'm not perfect.
But you're damn close. Look at you, baby. You're damn close.
Let's see. Just because I am all interested. You clickety clack, clickety clack.
I think that is actually an interesting question, though, because of the fact it would seem like anything that was part of the UK would be part of NATO and would just be listed as such. And you know what else is interesting? Have you paid attention?
Northern Ireland is a part of the UK, which is actually a very small part of Ireland. But Dublin is not in Northern Ireland.
It's the
It
Republic
is in
of
what
Ireland.
is called the Republic of Ireland.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
That is the area that just wants to, share a pint with you. You get out of hand, they're going to have some fisticuffs.
Yeah, it's good.
But that is part of the area that's where all the fishermen came when Russia was going to do their Navy exercises out in the water. And Ireland was like, yeah, no, we're going to send out our fishing boats as usual, and caused a huge disruption
in the military
by
exercise.
literally partying and drinking in the middle of Russia's exercises.
See, though, that's Irish. I mean, that's Irish through and through. Oh, you're coming to fuck up my backyard?
You think so, do you?
Grab a 5th of Jameson. Let's go. Grab a pint of Guinness. Let's go. Yeah, they don't, they're just not, I don't, at least my feeling is that the Irish people are not willing to take much shit from anyone. And if you look at like all the immigrants that have streamed into England and Ireland, specifically those two, the way that they're handled in each is way, way different. You see a bunch of like clearly not from around here people picking a fight with clearly from around here people. And it is amazing. So I saw this video where, and I don't know what the ethnic background was of the people that were causing the problem, but they were causing the problem. And then they picked on this Irish kid, and there was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of these people, and they started beating the shit out of the Irish kid, and the Irish kid got away, went around the corner, and you see the time lapse, right? And it's like just a couple of minutes later, comes back around with like fucking 10, 12 Irish dudes, and they beat the living fuck out of these immigrants. I mean, I shouldn't laugh. But the fact of the matter was, in the video, they were clearly the troublemakers. And I get it. You're coming from a rough place and you're trying to settle in, and maybe there were some words that were spoken beforehand or whatever, but all the video showed was these immigrant kids pounding the fuck out of this Irish kid. The kid takes it, gets up, gets away, comes back around the corner, and he's like, we ain't done. We ain't done yet. And I could identify with that so much, because that was like so me growing up, that especially in my teenage years. It was like, yeah, you might beat me up in a fucking fist fight, but I'm coming back tomorrow with a fucking iron pipe. So it made a lot of sense to me, and I had a little bit of my Irish pride in that moment. Anyways, next news story.
Also, in other news, but along the same lines, France has not ruled out sending troops into Ukraine.
Really?
They're apparently talking about it right now, because they do have troops in Ukraine. They're training Ukraine military on using their equipment, but there's chatter that they're talking about sending 100,000 troops into Ukraine.
See, I think that we're getting to that point where it's almost on the brink of a world war, you know, and it will be the first country that is an ally of ours that dips their toes in that will essentially, in my opinion, create the environment where that happens. So I would not like to see France do that, but I do think that this is getting to the point where it's like, and again, this isn't against the Russian people. We've got Russian listeners. This is not against the Russian people at all. I think the Russian people, just like the Israeli people, just like, you know, the Lebanese people, I don't think it's
there's also, you know, you just said it, the difference between Israeli people and the military Palestinian people and Hezbollah, they're not the same.
Exactly. I mean, we have to separate this.
I would feel a little bit better about this. I love you, France, but maybe it was another country.
Yeah. Hell, you know what? You got to hand it to France. Whenever there's a conflict, they're the first ones to be like, yeah, we're in. You know, people don't think about it. The United States would not be the United States today if not for France. Okay?
This is very true.
This is very historical behavior from France. We don't like it.
The last big military offering, which was World War II, they
fell flat, but you gotta love. Look, I'm sorry, but you gotta love the tenacity of France. You know, for well over 300 years, probably, if not longer, but at least coming up on 250 years, they've always been the one that was like, yes, we don't like the fact that this is clearly a bully and somebody who can't help themselves situation. So we're going to step in and help the person that can't help themselves.
Well, you got to take into account, you know, when the U.S. was trying to establish themselves as a country, they appealed to France, who was, what, the British?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But even now, they're willing to shove a baguette up fucking Putin's ass. So like this has not changed in France.
I would be all for France stepping in on one condition, that they teach Ukrainians the French taunting from Monty Python. Like, I fought in your general direction.
Your mother smelled of elderberries. And your father was a knigget. Yeah, that would actually...
What? That's not the line.
It's just a flesh wound.
Your father was a hamster.
That's right. Of elderberry. That's right. You're right. I apologize. Misquote.
You
How dare I?
You, Arthur King, and your silly Nuggets.
I think they're going to start some shit, though. I think it would not. And again, I haven't really followed it all as closely as I'd like to because I've been so immersed in U.S. politics. So it's always difficult when you're trying to keep track of the world stage, but especially when the world is in as much chaos as it is right now. So, not that that's an excuse, but I could definitely see France stepping up. I could definitely see France going in because France knows the United States is going to have France's back. England's going to have France's back. So they know that, right out of the gate, if they jump in, again, it's almost like with Israel. It's like Israel knows that they're the little brother to the United States, and they kind of have gotten to the point where they're maybe a touch too big for their britches and need a smackdown from the big brother. At least that's my interpretation of this right now. I mean, there were plenty of times. There were plenty of times when you were 10, 11, and 12 where you thought you were 16, 17, 18, and I had to kind of remind you, no, you're not. You know what I mean? No, you're not. And I think that that's really what kind of needs to happen between the United States and Israel right now is going, you keep picking these fights and you're picking them all around you, okay? Which means that you are circled by enemies. And what do you think you're going to do?
Yeah, with Israel, the United States definitely, somebody attacks Israel with missiles or whatever. And I think there is a point where the United States needs to do the, what? Oh, no.
Oh, you did that. Sometimes you step in shit and the only one that can clean your shoe is you. And that's where they're at right now. You know what I mean? I think Biden should definitely be and I think it should be Biden.
I do keep picturing, Ukraine with French soldiers in there, all dressed up, ready to go, but they got the little beret on with the cigarette in the hand, in the other hand, dipping a croissant and ketchup.
Yeah. I could see that. I think that whole area is going to become a mess within less than a year. I think that you're going to see escalations all throughout, the Gaza Strip. You're going to see it through Lebanon. You're going to see it regarding Israel and Iran. I think you could start seeing other countries getting involved, maybe going against Israel. I think that that's the tinderbox, even more so than Ukraine. Ukraine's a different situation that definitely needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. But I think that what you end up with Israel is that the reason why the United States has got their back so much, a lot of it has to do with the whole worry about all the holy lands. I think it has more to do with the United States being concerned that you have, the Christian Holy Land there, you have the Jewish Holy Land there, and you have the Muslim. So you have this, the trifecta of the Abrahamic religions all within a very, very small area, which in and of itself creates a tinderbox. But beyond that,
need to do
they're afraid
to use the Iron Curtain or whatever they call it.
Iron Dome.
Iron Dome. Redirect the missiles to the Jewish and Muslim Holy Lands and be like, oh, oops, what they just did.
Oops. Oh, no. Because ultimately, what is Israel bringing to the table aside from the religious aspect? You know what I mean?
Entertainment.
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah, there's that. But you don't have to be in Israel for that. You know what I mean? No. I'm willing to bet that the Jewish population, in Hollywood is at par with Israel. So I'm not joking. I mean, I was out there for 3 years and learned more Yiddish than I could have ever fucking learned at any point in my life. But I do think that this is silliness. This is ultimately going to end up being presented to us as a religious war. And it's not. It's a war of far right, Netanyahu and his view of that area and his view of, plus he's also trying to stay out of jail too. You know what I mean? Netanyahu, has anyone thought to ask the question, is the reason why Netanyahu is doing all this shit just because of all of his potential pending court cases, just like Donald Trump? Do you honestly think that do you honestly think that Trump would be running as hard as he's running right now if it weren't for his court cases? I don't think he would.
Not to change course really quick, but did you watch John Oliver?
I did.
Wasn't that brilliant?
It was absolutely on point. And that gets back to Trump with they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating their pets. So John Oliver did a segment on that, highlighting what the reality is. And the reality is they're not eating your dogs. They're not eating your cats.
No. The photo of the guy carrying the goose.
Yeah.
Was actually from Columbus, and the goose had been hit by a car.
Right.
He was removing it.
Yeah. What an asshole. Imagine being that guy. You do a good deed. I mean, you've heard the expression, no good deed goes unpunished, right? So imagine being that guy. You see this happen, right? You see the fucking...
Haitian. I'm from Columbus.
Yeah, I'm not even... He's probably... Like, what are you talking about, Haitian?
I'm from 5th Street.
I'm Irish. So this guy gets out of his car. He does a good deed. He removes the dead body so traffic can continue. Next thing he knows, he's all over right-wing media as a Haitian that's killing animals in the parks. Jesus Christ, what the fuck is going on? I mean, again,
yes.
But that gets to the bottom of that gets to the whole part of this podcast, why it exists in the first place, is how many times have we thought to ourselves, what the fuck is going on here? I mean, how out of control?
Those poor people from Haiti.
Yeah.
Haiti.
He couldn't even, J.D. Vance couldn't even say Haiti. He couldn't say Haitians. He had to say from Haiti.
What's a first class ticket? How much does that cost to Haiti?
Yeah.
I dare you to say that to an airline worker.
Yeah, they would fucking laugh you out.
Can I get a ticket to Haiti? Anyway,
I think that well, hold on. Let's get back to Haiti real quick, because I think that that's something that
how do you get to Haiti?
Practice. It's just like Carnegie Hall. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice.
I playfully call Canada Canada.
Right, but that's
just to mess with
different.
Other people. Yeah.
He actually believed that was what it was called. And I think that should be a disqualifier for a fucking VP. I'm sorry, I do. I think if you don't know that it's not Haiti, it's Haiti, maybe you don't have, the knowledge of how the world is laid out really figured out yet. And not to say that I do, but I'm not running for VP.
What was the hate group that showed up in Springfield and threatened the city council? What are they called? Blood Tribe?
It was a motorcycle gang.
No, it wasn't a motorcycle gang. They're just a hate group.
Oh, I don't know.
They had the black with the red.
I thought they're
trying to look all cute.
I thought they said it was a motorcycle group.
No, they're just a regular hate group, a blood tribe.
Okay.
So I don't know.
What? All right, so
whatever your fucking name is, let me just say, the pretty little guy with the red dress-up shirt and the little suit and tie threatening the city council, why don't you meet me sometime in a back alley? I'll show you what tough is. Seriously. Get a hold of me. I'll be glad to whoop your ass. I will rip your arms off and slap you like the bitch you are.
And the fucking thing of it is that everyone thinks that's listening that you're just boasting right now, but that's not the case.
Oh, that's a real.
That's a real fucking
threaten someone that'll fucking take you up on it.
Yeah, and be able to. That's the other thing. Like, this is obviously an audio podcast, so people don't necessarily know what we look like or how big or small we are. But I can assure you that my little brother is way bigger than I am. Maybe not as mean.
I may be your little brother, but let me tell you, I bet that dude is half my age. And I will give him twice the beating.
I know you would. That's the fucking thing of it. Is I've seen you. I've watched you grow up. I know what kind of pounding you can put on people. I've been on the receiving end of that shit, So like, that's a serious offer. I dare that motherfucker to come on
kidding.
out. I would love to see that motherfucker step toe to toe with you, because you would mop the fucking ground with him.
I will slap him so hard. I'm not going to punch him.
You don't have to.
I don't have to punch him. That's not how I fight. But I'll gladly slap him so hard his mom will feel it.
And that is fucking gospel. I feel bad for the people of Springfield. I feel bad for specifically the Haitians, because they didn't deserve this. They were being brought in because of a necessity, and they were willing to fulfill the need, and were happy to do it when Americans weren't, and they were rewarded for that with this opportunity. And they've increased the economic circumstances of Springfield. They've made things better. Yes, there are a lot of things that infrastructure-wise, this isn't because of them. It's just because there's not enough infrastructure to support them. So that's a government issue and should be handled by the government. And as John Oliver so eloquently put, J.D. Vance, while in Congress, only quoted up to what the problem was, not what the request to solve the problem was. And that was a very, very shady way of getting time on TV. And that's where our politicians are. They will do the shadiest shit and twist the story so that they can get clipped on Fox or clipped on CNN or MSNBC or whatever. And it's just disgusting. You know what? Fuck this. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
I just want to bring up one last point about it. How brave are you to show up in force in Springfield with only one member that doesn't have a pretty little red mask on? Bunch of testicleless human beings there. They're not even human beings.
So
somebody's parents need to punch them. Send them to the room.
All right, we got to cleanse the timeline. We got to cleanse the palate. So we had done the last episode, which was the part 1 on Halloween, our favorite holiday. I did talk briefly about how I get annoyed that we're putting out the stuff 2, 3, 4 months ahead of time, and by the time the holiday comes, I'm already exhausted with it. However, let's try to not allow my negativity to bring down the holiday as it often does, right? Especially Christmas. I'm absolutely the biggest party pooper on Christmas.
Just you wait till Christmas.
Oh,
I'm gonna rake you over the coals for Christmas coming.
Well, look, you can have me for Christmas and rake me over the coals for Christmas, but you won't get me on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's still a bullshit holiday.
All right. Now, first of all, I want to, again, with this show, bring up some Halloween spooky fun watching for everybody. All right. On my first choice, I should say, a little more on the scary side, but I love it because great memories of getting the shit scared out of me when I was a kid watching it. Still love it because the creep factor, the acting in it is superb. But The Exorcist.
Yes.
The Exorcist is a good watch.
Yeah. That and Poltergeist. And I think I might have already said
yes, Poltergeist is on my list.
But Poltergeist scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. And then to find out later that some of those skeletons were real fucking skeletons in the pool.
Who does that?
Jesus Christ. I mean, tell that story. You know it probably way better than I do. But
as far as I know, the prop department decided to get real human skeletons to put in the pool and didn't tell the cast this.
Right.
Whoops.
Yeah, sorry.
Which is, again, if I'm going to delve into old haunted house stories, did a haunted house, one of my first ones, way out actually past where you are, 32 in Romeo Plank, or 34 in Romeo Plank is where it's at. I don't think it's
I'm way past that.
But they used to get these big dolls It's the only way I could describe them. This giant sized dolls that were human, and they had plastic bones inside and fake blood. And the idea was you chopped it up so it looked, like human, a haunted house. And one night, he got the plan of what they were trying to do. So I grabbed a chainsaw and was on top of this hospital stretcher that it was on. And they wanted it all splattered and all kind of around. And so I'm manically laughing, like I'm really chopping up a person. I've gone fucking nuts. Music is playing. And I did not know it, but I started to draw a crowd of other workers who were just like, what's wrong with this dude? Like, where did he come from? And I am going to town on this thing with a chainsaw. And I am talking shit to it. Like, how do you like it? You like that, motherfucker? And I'm sawing away, and I am getting splattered with fake blood.
Oh, that's awesome.
Was only unfortunate because it was very sticky. But so I'm going to town on this, standing up, stooped over on top of it, like, there, take this, motherfucker. And blood is just splattering everywhere. People are getting out of my way because they're getting hit with shrapnel. And I may have been a little intoxicated.
No, not you.
And afterwards, I may or may not have fallen asleep in there. It's chopped up body.
And all the coworkers are like, all right, he fell asleep now. he's cuddling the corpse. What the fuck is with this guy? What is with him?
I'm a little weird, folks.
Oh, that is awesome.
But to go further on the list, outside of the scary fun, I have to put on one of my favorite. I have to watch it every year, and it is The Legend of the Headless Horseman, Ichabod Crane, the Disney classic. I still love it. I don't care what anyone thinks.
That's not the Johnny Depp one, though, is it? Or
no, this is the cartoon.
The cartoon. Disney. Oh, that was actually a little scary. Singing.
I love that.
That was a little, that was a great cartoon, but it was just creepy enough to where it wasn't like scary, but it was just like a little scary.
Just a little bit.
Just
when
enough.
You're a kid.
You know what I mean?
But
yeah,
it
exactly.
gets me in a fun mood. Along that same lines, obviously, you got the Hocus Pocus.
All right. Hocus Pocus. Give me the 3 stars. Bette Midler.
Correct.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Correct. Probably the hottest she's ever looked at.
That's where I was going. That's exactly where I was going. And then you had Kathy Najimy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Obviously, no one is, I don't even know what year that movie came out, but no one is watching that and getting hot and bothered.
I want to say 93.
Right. It was early 90s. And that was the first time I ever noticed Sarah Jessica Parker. So this is actually something interesting. There are certain movies or certain TV shows that define the hottest a person will look. Man or woman, doesn't matter, right? It's just a little bit more obvious with women, I think, than it is with men. But I'll go first with men. Russell Crowe in Gladiator. That's his movie. He's never going to look that great again. Kate Winslet, Titanic. That was her fucking movie. She's never going to look that great again. Right? And not to say that she's not beautiful. She's gorgeous. I think Kate Winslet is absolutely fucking amazing. But that was her movie. Like, that's the time capsule. Hocus Pocus was that for Sarah Jessica Parker. Mm-hmm. I don't care.
And I did like the newer one. I enjoyed it.
I haven't seen the new one.
The original, you can never beat the original. And just classic Halloween watch.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. Like, again, it was one of those movies where it's like, it's just a fun movie. I think people get too wrapped up in things having to be brilliant or genius or whatever. How come you can't just sit and watch a movie and have fun? Just enjoy it.
Exactly.
And that's what Hocus Pocus was. And on top of it, Sarah Jessica Parker looked fucking hot as shit. Like, she's never going to look as good as she did. Exactly. She's never going to look at that good again. I mean, there are... wait, let's go back. Hold on a second. Another example of that, Suicide Squad. for what's the blonde?
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie. Yes. And again, a gorgeous woman. Absolutely gorgeous. She was gorgeous in Wolf on Wall Street, and everything else she's ever done, she's been gorgeous. Even when she's not supposed to be gorgeous, she's still gorgeous. But there was something about that psycho. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's something about, because I think every guy knows that that's not the woman you want to marry, but it is definitely the woman that you want to have in your life for about 6 months. Is that kind of a cycle? Because they are
fun and games until your cat is boiling in a pot.
Exactly. Anyways, back to your list.
That I gave the 5 movies.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Only 5 movies.
Okay.
The Exorcist, The Poltergeist, Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Hocus Pocus. Oh, is that 4?
That's 4. That's what I thought.
It is only 4. Well, then I'm going to have to throw in there the Ghostbusters.
How can you not? Great Halloween movie. Again, anyone...
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
I mean, there were... And really, how many of those lines did Murray do that were just improv?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The vast majority.
A lot of people don't know he was not slated to be in it.
And really didn't want to be.
Yeah, no, he didn't. They had originally wanted John Belushi to play Peter Venkman.
Right.
But he had passed. They designed Slimer to be like John Belushi. And Bill Murray showed up and saved the day.
Which is not really surprising when you consider the relationship between Dan Aykroyd and Belushi. It's obvious that Aykroyd would be fighting to have Belushi in there. But if I'm not mistaken, it was... drawing blank on a name.
Part did he play?
Not Venkman.
Spengler?
Spengler.
That would be... Oh, gosh. I just had his name in my head.
Starts with an R.
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis, thank you. Ramis was really kind of it was both him and Aykroyd that were driving this project. But it was...
And then Ivan Reitman stepped in to help them get it finished.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, it was either Ivan Reitman or Harold Ramis. It definitely was not, from my recollection, Aykroyd. But I think it was Ivan Reitman that got him to do it.
I think so.
And I don't know what the connection was. There was some sort of connection between him and Reitman that for their relationship.
Well, I if I remember right, Harold Ramis used to help write stuff for Mad Magazine.
Okay.
The National Lampoons type stuff.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
So there might have been a connection there.
Yeah. Harold Ramis behind the scenes has got his fingers in so many movies, so many things that to really go back in his history, it's really amazing.
Ramis doesn't get enough credit. I mean, you're going all the way back to Animal House, which is again the reason why I say I think it was Reitman.
Caddyshack.
Yeah, I think it was Reitman, but not Ramis.
Stripes.
Again, I think it was...
And little tidbit here, Back to School would not have been made without the help of Harold Ramis, who rewrote it. Decided that the part that Rodney Dangerfield plays should not be a younger guy, but an older guy and rich, because they wanted him to be poor. And Harold Ramis was like, no, can't be done. No one's going to be interested. No one has interest in a poor guy going back to college being ridiculous. It has to be a rich guy who just does not give a shit.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. All right, so as we're wrapping up here,
I got a question for you.
Okay.
I got a question for you.
Hit me.
This is going to be the first of a couple of questions throughout the next couple of weeks. You have 24 hours to prepare. What do you do if you know that in 24 hours, Jason from Friday the 13th is coming after you? How do you prepare? What do you do?
You know, I'm going to do... See, that's the thing is we've seen him killed so many times, or thought we did, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to go for as much severing as possible. So I'm going for
how you going to sever?
I'm going for as many very large and sharp objects. So as an example, I've got a bunch of trees that line my driveway. I'm going to go full Ewok, if you follow.
Huh?
I'm going to go full Ewok because I've got the wood available. I've got the trees.
You got wood.
I got wood. How sad it is that is so true. I'm going to go like full fucking Ewok attack. I'm going to go for like the stuff swinging down from the trees and hitting them. I'm going to go for as many spears coming out. You know, I'm going to do a combination between Ewoks and Indiana Jones as far as like the booby traps. That's
interesting.
Because I mean, we've seen everything else not work. But if I can get him in enough pieces, I might be able to separate those pieces. And if I can separate them, then I can eventually encase them in concrete and no more Jason. That's my way.
That is a great idea. It's very close to what I was thinking.
Okay.
For me, I would have, some rifles just to annoy him. Let him follow me through the woods. I'm going to bait him. I'm very adept at throwing axes, knives. Little known fact. But I
still have to build the axe and knife alley for you here. Because I am building one for you. I'm going to
bait him into a rope trap straight out of Bugs Bunny, Walt Disney, that snatches his feet up underneath him. And I'm going to dip him into a container full of cement, straight down into the cement, give him the Han Solo treatment. And while he is in there struggling, because he will be wrapped up, it isn't just simply letting his arms flail. He's going to get a steel bolo that goes around him so he can't move his arms, dip him into that cement, and then I'm going to hit that box of cement with fire extinguishers because it'll get cold really quick and start to freeze quick, and then dump him onto the back of a pickup truck, take him over to a cement crusher, grind that motherfucker up. That's how you deal with a Jason.
See, the problem with your idea and mine to a degree is no sequel. Mm-hmm. No sequel. Yeah, you don't get a sequel out of it.
A quick movie.
See, that's the thing though, is when you're talking movie monsters like Jason, I don't know.
I don't even have to grind them up. All I'd have to do is knock it down, the cement slab, and basically make a giant propane forge and cook them alive.
I would still do the grinding. I would grind them and then re-cement them. So do the grind, do the re-cementing, because at that point you can take pieces and put them on, front wall, back wall, side wall, top wall, bottom wall. So you can really break it up. You know what I mean? Because if you do the concrete grinding, at least at that point, you have the opportunity to mix that up. You know what I mean? Like I would really mix it up. So if he did come back, it's like there's a thumb in his forehead. There's something like that. You know what I mean? Like things don't go back right.
The instead of cement, dump them into a vat of acrylic. I make them into a nice conversation piece coffee table.
Oh, I like that idea even better.
But
there's always a possibility that can break. And that would happen in the movie.
Well,
somebody would slam down their coffee cup too hard and there'd be just that little tiny crack. You can't even see it. It's imperceivable to the naked eye. And yet in a week or two that would grow and grow. And next thing you know, he's busting out of the acrylic and he's doing that fucking weird Jason shit again. You got to think ahead.
Well, you could encase different body parts in different acrylics. An end table, a coffee table, another end table.
How about this? What if we took the cement and really ground it down, like really got it down to like powder, and then mixed it with clay? Okay. And then we took the clay and threw it onto the table, and we spun that shit up and made vases and coffee mugs and plates out of it, right? And then we take that and we fire it, all right? Because you're talking thousands of degrees for pottery.
This is true.
And then the worst thing that we have happen is we have some evil coffee cups.
That's a wicked good cup of coffee.
It's a wicked good cup of coffee. And on that note, it's time to stick a pin in it.
You're missing a joke.
Oh, no.
Would that technically be Jasonry Masonry?
And that is where we put a pin on it for this Elsie's Little Pickles.